Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. All right, so as was said, I'm Kevin Sawicki. First, I wanted to show you the GitHub team if you've never seen everybody before. We're based out of San Francisco, California, and this is roughly 250 of us up on a little roof somewhere. And I just want to extend anyone an invitation here that if you're ever in San Francisco, the Bay Area, or California, and you can stop by, I'd be more than happy to have you at our office for the day. You can work, hang out, have lunch. So if you're ever in the area, feel free to shoot me an email, come by and meet all of these wonderful people. And if you're trying to find me in this picture, I know you're all like, where's Kevin? I'll zoom in a little bit and highlight myself. I'm right back there. So that's where I was hanging out that day when we took this one. And here's a better one of me with my lovely dog Franklin. So if you ever came by, you would see him running around the office there. And you can find me at Kevin Sawicki on GitHub, Kevin Sawicki at Twitter, and if you want to send me an email, old-fashioned style, kevin@github.com works. And a little bit more about myself. I've been at GitHub just over 3 years now, and I've done open source my entire time there. So every line of code I've ever written in 3 years at GitHub is open source somewhere. I started out working on JGit and eGit. So JGit is the implementation of Java, or the implementation of Git in Java, and eGit is the Eclipse plugins to do Git-related things. After that, I moved on to working on the GitHub Android app that we released just over 2 years ago now, and after getting really sick of Android app development, I moved to the Atom editor, which is where I'm really happy to be. And so throughout this presentation, I'll have these space-related images in all the backgrounds, and I just want to give a shout out to NASA for making these images all available. So if you're ever looking for really great, nebulas and galaxies for your slideshows, this website has a new picture every day that they post of all this crazy, awesome telescope renderings and whatnot. And so kind of on to the 10 things about this presentation. The first one is that Atom is a text editor. So how many people here have already used Atom before today? Great. So you hopefully know this already, so I'm happy to hear that. So it's not a JavaScript IDE and doesn't really have ambitions to be an IDE. It's a text editor first and foremost, and that's its kind of goal and mantra. And so what is a text editor, right? It can kind of be summarized in a really simple kind of principle that really can be extended to go way further as they evolve over time. So first, you press a key, right? You download a text editor, you open it up, and you press a key. And now what happens, when you press that key appears on the screen. And that's the essence of a text editor, right? You press something, and then you see what you press. So I know you're asking yourself then, what do you do next? You repeat. You press a different key. And this step alone that you perform, I don't know, you probably say 1,000, 10,000 times a day, is where a good text editor is separated from a great text editor. Because a good text editor, or a great text editor, makes this action put the least physical and mental strain on you. And the mental strain being, is the text editor slow? Does it feel like it's slowing me down? Is it doing things? Is it rendering things incorrectly? Is it highlighting words correctly? And the physical strain being, are the keys and the shortcuts all in intuitive places? And can I type all day, every day, without feeling tired? Because everything is architected to put the least physical strain on my body as I type text all day. And if we give a quick demo of Atom, you'll see that it does just that. In this recording, I am pressing keys, and lo and behold, those keys are appearing on screen. And this took 3 years to get to this point in time. So I don't recommend building a text editor unless you have 3 years of time on your hands. The next thing that we're really, really excited about is that Atom is open source. And so if you may remember, we beta launched in February. So right at the end of February, we did an invite system where, we sent out invites and you could send your friends invites and you could download Atom, and it was free during the beta, but the code wasn't open source. And a couple months later, we're able to, fulfill that commitment and open source all the repos, 100% of the code, the app framework that we built to build the text editor on top of, and all the packages are now open source. And so you can go to atom.io, download it, see all the docs, and then also if you want to see how the sausage is made, you can go to Atom and see all the code for the editor, as well as we have another couple hundred repos under the Atom organization. And also we have a Twitter account where we rarely tweet, but it's useful information. So keep moving on. Atom is built on web technology. So if you've used it already, you may know this, but it's kind of nice to go through the stack of Atom to kind of feel through, like, what we built it on top of, and if you're interested in hacking on it and becoming a part of it, what you would need to kind of use to extend it. So at our very core at the very core of Atom is node.js. So any node module out there you can use for your Atom packages. You'll have access to all the full node APIs, and Atom is built around that as its core technology platform for reading and writing files, network stuff, all that. But we also have a real heavy dependency on Chromium. So all the rendering that you see inside of Atom is Chromium, right? We use a project called BrightRay to embed Chromium in a native app. Similar in a lot of ways to the Node WebKit presentation yesterday. It's this nice event loop hybridization of Node.js and Chromium. And getting a little more detailed, we use Grunt right now for like all our build system to build the app, to compile things and all that fun stuff. So we're fans of Grunt, and we also do a lot of CoffeeScript. So if you looked at the Atom code right now, you would see 100% of it is CoffeeScript, but there's no hard dependency on this. You can write any Atom package in JavaScript. You're not forced to use CoffeeScript. We just use that to build the core editor and all the core packages. Unsurprisingly, we use Twitter Bootstrap for all of our basic UI controls. So if you were looking to add some buttons or some panels or menus, Bootstrap is built in, so your Atom package has immediate access to that. And we use less for all of our style sheets. So if you're looking to ever write an Atom theme, we have all these variables defined, so you can write a theme with a very minimal amount of effort. You can just say, I want the background of strings to be this color, and I want the cursor to be that color. And we use less to give us, just support for mixins and variables inside the CSS that eventually gets generated. And the last piece is really Jasmine. So we're really big on writing specs for the editor and making sure that all packages are well tested, and we use the Jasmine library. And Atom actually ships with the spec runner. So if you have Atom open right now and you want to run all of the specs that ship with it, press Command, Alt, Control, P. And then all the Jasmine specs for Atom will run. Hopefully they all pass on your machine. And so you can immediately start hacking on Atom and making sure that the tests pass if you have a package you're developing or you're trying to add something to core. Another exciting piece is Atom is cross-platform. So when Atom first came out, it was Mac only. We only had Mac builds, and we still only have official Mac builds. But I am happy to say that we've come pretty far in the last couple weeks in getting Atom to be very consistent on Linux, Mac, and Windows. And we're really close to having official Windows builds out, although I see a lot of MacBooks here, which is exciting, because it's definitely the best on Mac still. But there are several Linux distros that now have access, that are in the process of adding Atom support, and so you could just install it using any package manager. And so an interesting stat is last month, 5.5 million files were opened in Atom, right? And we use Google Analytics inside of Atom to report anonymous usage statistics to allow us to kind of see what features are getting used and just how prevalent Atom is getting used. And that's a really great number, right? That's a lot of files, right? That's a lot of files that got opened just in the last month, and that number is kind of like doubling every month. But you can see we're still a long way away from being kind of representative of the typical platform breakdown, right? We have 90% of those files were on a Mac, a little under 5% on Linux, and 2% on Windows. So we're really not far getting people on Windows to adopt Atom yet, and so that's what we're working on really hard right now, is making it easy to install on both Linux and Windows in the same way it installs on the Mac. So our most exciting thing about Atom is, like, we call it the hackable text editor, and what that really means is that with very minimal effort, you can get Atom to do what you want it to do. So whether you want to remap some keys because you like different shortcuts than we ship with by default, whether you want to change some styles, or whether you want to just hack on any sort of interaction with how tabs get opened, how files are browsed, how the autocomplete shows up. And we give you access to every single API and the entire DOM, of course, to kind of put your stamp on Atom as you're running it. And the exciting part of building on top of Chromium is that we have the dev tools available to us, which make text editor development so much better. And so I can use all these Atom APIs to kind of give me the text of the current open editor that has focus, right? I can also just call any random, node code. I can require fs and read the user's dir. And of course, I have the full DOM access as well, so I can poke around and see what styles are being used in the active editor. And this is amazing, because if you think about a lot of the native apps you use, if you wanted to actually develop them, you'd have to rebuild them with some dev flags or download some other developer tools. But the Atom dev tools are always available, always on. You can, if you think you found a memory leak, you can take a heap snapshot and email it to us, and we'll be able to, pull it in. And so it makes for a really hackable editor when, nothing is off limits, and you have these amazing tools like the timeline and the flame graphs and all these other things to profile your application and make sure it keeps up with you as you're typing. And so the kind of the bare minimum you need to hack on Atom is a very simple list, right? It's going to be a little HTML, right? So we have, HTML5, you can do, WebRTC, a lot of the cool new things that Chromium allows. We have all of those enabled. You can also change Chromium flags if you want to experiment with bleeding edge stuff. At the bare minimum, there's going to be some JavaScript involved, right? Although we use CoffeeScript, if you're into JavaScript, go for it. That's all you need to kind of get started hacking on Atom. Of course, CSS, like I said, we're using less, but it's really just for variables and mixins. But you can use all the fun CSS stuff to theme and control Atom and kind of make it look appealing to you. And then, of course, having Chromium at its core, we have access to all of those APIs that are available. And so it makes it really great to target just Chromium and use all the bleeding edge stuff when you're trying to hack on something that helps you be more productive as you type text all day. Moving into that, we like to say Atom is styleable, right? So we ship with a couple default themes, a light one and a dark one, but we really want people to make it really comfortable for them as they develop. So whether you're a huge fan of dark on dark and you don't work in glare, so you can do that all day, or if you're outside, you can easily get a theme that kind of helps you in any sort of brightness environment, and also hack on it to make it the custom tweaks to get it looking like you want it to look. And so as Atom has all these config files and these local style sheets, and as you edit them, Atom is actually watching them on the file system, so you can actually kind of hack on the Atom styles as you're in Atom, so you don't have to restart or download any developer tools. Like if this is just one Atom window, and on the left side I have one file, and on the right side I have my local style sheet, which is stored in your .atom folder, and you can see as I change these colors in the less file, the code immediately updates on the left because we're always watching for style sheet changes, and we re-render the editor whenever that happens. And so it makes it really easy to kind of take the default the markdown styling and just tweak the classes to make it more conducive to terrible purple and yellow colors. And so Atom is also all about packages. So that was kind of core to the editor's architecture is a really small editor component at its core, and a pane system for splitting and moving editors around, and a low-level text buffer API. But that everything else, all the other functionality you see out of the box, is provided by the packages that we ship with. That are we roughly ship with 80 packages built in. And so when you look at a screenshot like this, right, you'll see. It looks like a basic text editor, right? I have some text, I got the line number, I got the tabs, I got a little status in the bottom. But this is really a whole set of packages working together to kind of deliver this out-of-the-box experience with Atom. And so if we look, to the left side of the editor, we see, we have some colorization of lines 1, 3, and 5, right? And that's actually this get diff package that's telling me that those lines have been edited but not checked in yet, right? And then if we look up top, this is actually the tabs package. So tabs aren't, built into Atom's core, the UI that it delivers out of the box. It's actually a third-party extension that renders, a small div at the top of the screen and listens for active editor changes, and then just, makes the active tab match the active editor. And then if you can see, in very faint on the right side, we have, like a vertical line at the 80th column to help you wrap. And that's not built into the editor either. That's a third-party package that just renders this line at a configurable column that you can say in Objective-C files, I want it to be at 120, but at JavaScript files, I want it to be at 80, and that's also a package. And then if you can see where I have my cursor on the curly, you can see that the other curly is highlighted yellow, and that's, again, another package called the bracket matcher. And so if you wanted to tweak that behavior or add custom matching, you would just explore the bracket matcher API, you can fork it, open a pull request, and get it to work the way you want to work it. And then also in the screenshot, we have the status bar package, which is a package that other packages can extend to throw things like the cursor position, the file name. If you look at the bottom right-hand side, you'll see there's other git diff information, the number of lines added and deleted since this file was last committed, and also the branch I'm currently on. And then we have this package that allows you to, I was one ahead on here. We have this package called the grammar selector package that puts the active grammar name, and so if you wanted to change, the syntax highlighting, you could just click it and toggle it, and it would, edit it. And the really cool part of this, the reason I kind of wanted to show all these packages in motion is that with a simple configuration like this in Atom, you can disable them all, right? So anything you hate about Atom out of the box, you can immediately turn off or re-implement yourself or install as a fork of these packages. And all it is we have a very simple config file, and you can just say that all these package names I want disabled. And what would your Atom look like if you did this? It'd be a little more Zen mode, right? There's not as much noise, there's no status bar, there's no tabs, there's no decorations, but it still works. There's no assumptions about all these, out-of-the-box features that can all be independently disabled and turned off. And so where are we so far? We have 900 packages that have been published by people that don't work at GitHub since we launched in February, which is amazing. Another amazing number is 300 themes, right? So that means almost every theme that's ever existed for like Sublime or TextMate or VI or Emacs has probably already been ported to Atom. So if you're looking for it, just go to atom.io, you'll search for it, and you can find it, and you can just install it from either the app or the command line. And another exciting thing is that, even though we have 1,000 packages, we've had 2 million packages that have been installed. So people are really using packages like to the extreme. If you do the kind of math in your head, like that means, a lot of these packages probably have multiple thousands of installs. And so they're actively being used, and they've kind of really, amped up in the last couple months. And if you're interested in more, we do like a weekly or monthly blog post about the coolest new packages. So if you went to blog.atom.io, you could see those. And we also have an Atom feed of all the new packages. If you have an RSS reader, you can get up-to-date information about all the packages every time they get published. Another cool part is that Atom runs an Atom shell. So everyone that was here for the Node WebKit presentation yesterday, Atom shell is a very similar product, right? It's an app framework. It's cross-platform. It's Chromium. It's Node. It's got all the DOM APIs, all the window APIs, but it's also got the Node event loop going on at the same time. And if you want to go check that out, that's at Atom shell is the repo name. And so it's got a very small core where every process has a Node context and a Chromium context kind of glued together. But we also provide a bunch of cross-platform APIs to kind of bridge the gap to all the native integrations you want to make, right? So things like system menus, tray icons, dock interactions. Also window management, so you can have a process that kind of manages these windows, moves them around, minimize, maximize, all that stuff. Also automatic updates, so that's built in to the Atom shell project, so you can automatically have your app update with a URL that it checks for new releases. And exciting is also crash reporting. So if you actually have if you're using any native Node modules that heaven forbid crash, you'll be able to get reports reported to an endpoint. And so this is kind of just how Atom shell works, right? You have in similar Chromium fashion, you have a browser process and a set of render processes. So you can think of the browser process being kind of like the first thing that runs that kind of says, what window should I open? And then I create a window where each render process is hosted in. And the render processes can talk to each other and then, by communicating through the browser process. So when I say Atom, package.json on the command line, that tells the browser process, the package.json file has been requested to be opened. Do you have any open windows that can show this file? If so, bring that window to the front. If not, create a new window. And then those windows can talk to each other if they want to, if the spec runner wants to know about, open the file of the failing test, they can go back and forth through this browser process. And one of the big things going forward is that Atom needs more desktop Node modules. So if you're Node, NPM has 80,000 awesome modules, but very few of them are for developing native desktop apps. And so a quick example of what I mean by that is, if anyone's ever seen this preference pane in in Mac OS X, you know there's this section called Show Scroll Bars, and there's 3 options, whether scroll bars are always visible, whether they're never visible, or whether it's controlled by the trackpad. And so when we shipped Atom, like this was the experience we thought we were delivering people, which is this file, because my cursor's not over the scroll bars, I don't see the scroll bars, and that's the, the default behavior on Mac. But if you had changed this setting to always, like you would launch Atom for the first time, and you would see this lovely dark UI with these heinous-looking white scroll bars to the top and right. And so we run into this all the time where we need to bridge this gap between the Mac OS X isms and the Windows isms, but we want to do it by having small modules that encapsulate this behavior, that do it in like a node-centric way. And so we end up writing a thing where it's like, oh, well, let's look at the one line of Objective-C we want to write to monitor that setting and emit just a regular node event when it occurs. And then in Atom itself, we have a CSS class that represents each of those behaviors, right? Always, or none for the scroll bar settings. And what that allows is like this, really simple way to declaratively say, like when the scroll bar is set to always visible, instead of, these heinous-looking default scroll bars in Mac OS X, I want to create some nice, WebKit or Chromium scroll bars using, using this custom background color, height and width, and some borders, which ends up with this, right? So it's a much easier way to kind of build out these nice, small, cohesive desktop node modules that whether it's a Node WebKit app or an Atom Shell app, we can all kind of share these, native integrations without having to all, hack it, and we can, build up this whole library of desktop node modules to make native app development using Node and Chromium way easier to do. And probably the most exciting part is about to come up, and if you've used Atom, you may be really excited by this fact, and this is kind of like the closing note, is that Atom will get faster, and that's really the focus for the entire core team for the next 2, 3, 4 months, is getting Atom to be performant on all 3 platforms, but also MacBook Airs and older MacBooks that may not have some of the luxuries of a newer Retina. And so the current effort being done right now is we're completely rewriting the editor component using the React library, which has been great so far. It really has cleaned up the code, and I highly recommend checking out React. If you haven't already, it's got an amazing documentation, and it's got a really responsive dev team at Facebook, and it's a real joy to use. And we've also moved all the text rendering to the GPU, allowing us to kind of hit the benchmarks that we've set up. So our new goals are under 10 milliseconds per keystroke, so you won't be able to perceive that there's any lag between the time you press the key and the time it appears on screen. And also a big one for us is trying to get to 60 frames per second scrolling, which is actually proving to be very challenging given all the packages that add kind of UI controls to Atom, and also for large files and long lines and soft wrap and all these other kind of nuances. And I am happy to report we've seen some great progress so far. So the top bar is the timeline view for the old editor. So large bars in this graph are way worse because the size of the bar represents the amount of time that got run in response to a JavaScript event. So in these 2 simulations, I'm scrolling the editor and moving the cursor, and you can see how much time is spent, running JavaScript code is one color, and processing styles and then laying out is all those 3 colors. And you'll see in the new editor, it gets way closer to the 60 frames per second time, whereas the old editor at points is getting, under 15 frames per second, which is great. So we're getting really close, and every day, and you can track this progress. We have pull requests open every day to improve different facets of scrolling and moving the cursor and copying and pasting large hunks of text, all that stuff. And if you want to enable this, you can open Atom right now. It's off by default currently. We hope to ship this on by default in the next couple weeks. But if you open up the Atom settings and check this box that says Use React Editor, any editors you open after you check this box will use the new editor architecture, and you'll be able to kind of test it out and hopefully provide us feedback on what machine it's still not working on or what edge cases there might be where you're still seeing perhaps scrolling or typing lag. And that pretty much wraps it up. So I want to say thanks. Also, I noticed a lot of people have GitHub stickers, but I brought a ton with me on the plane. So all the stickers you see in the screenshot I have with me. So if you've wanted a Daft Punk Octocat sticker for a long time and you've never got one, today is your lucky day, or if you're a huge Star Trek fan. I will put these out at the next coffee break, and please feel free to take as many as you want. And this is the first time we've ever printed Atom stickers, so that's the Atom icon logo, so we have 3 different versions of that. So if you're looking to fill up your laptop even further, there'll be plenty of stickers available. And great, thanks for your time.